Hey, everybody. Thank you again for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners. These amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built 6, 7-figure digital agencies and how you can too. My name is Chris Martinez, CEO of Dude, where we help digital agencies by giving them the people and the processes so that they can scale profitably. And today I am joined by the man, the myth, the orange legend, Matt Plapp from the ROI Experts. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? How are you?
Great to have you on. And I would expect nothing less than you all decked out in the orange shirt.
And ironically, the drink I'm drinking is orange as well. So it's just, it finds me wherever I go.
The color orange has become a part of your subconscious mind. And so you just integrate that into your life everywhere that you go.
You know what it does. It more than you realize. I mean, literally, the other day I was foam rolling at my house. And I looked down and my foam roller is orange. I'm like, how does this happen? How does this keep happening?
You did that to yourself. We'll talk all about the orange legend in a second. But as we start every show, we kind of like to talk a little bit about something kind of fun, something that most people don't know, or kind of a current event type of topic. And so today, I follow you on social media. Obviously, I'm in your Facebook group, and I love the Facebook Lives. I love all of your content, and I love the volume of content. Like, seriously, man, like you are everywhere, which is like, that in itself is a lesson on marketing and branding. But one thing that always stands out to me is when you talk with your dad. So you bring your dad onto the Facebook Lives and you guys talk about agency stuff, business stuff. Me personally, my dad passed away before I got into my first business, so I never had that opportunity. So I'm super, on a personal note, I'm very jealous of you. But it's awesome, man. So talk about that more, working with your dad and the things that you've learned from him and his years of experience and that sort of thing.
Okay. Well, first, sorry for losing your dad at such a young age. That's got to be tough. I couldn't imagine it myself.
We got through it. It wasn't easy.
Yeah, we got through it. I can imagine. It all starts, me and my dad are identical. I mean, it's honestly scary. Growing up, I was always around my dad. He owned his own businesses my entire life, which is, I'm sure, is probably why I own my own businesses. Mm-hmm. He always had the freedom. We always were at Boy Scout camp, at sporting events, traveling. He was never tied to a place. And so I was always around my dad. And I also got to see, I look back now and I realize all of the stuff I saw him doing business-wise, that I'm like, wow, I didn't realize what he was doing and why. Now I look back and I'm like, okay, that's what was going on there. Well, early in life, right when I got out of college, I started working in radio. And within 6 months, him and myself and my brother decided to start a boat dealership together. And so we had a company for 10 years together as well. And it was kind of funny because it took us a learning curve to get used to people, to get used to each other. And like literally one of our first, like the first probably 6 months we worked together. And I say this kind of embarrassed, but also it's funny. And it was a growing pain, is that him and I are literally identical. We took a personality test one time. Yamaha Marine had us at one of their conferences. There were like 10 of us. It was 20. It was top 20 dealers. And they gave us all personality test day one. We didn't know what they were giving. They just started giving you a test. Like the last day, they're like, hey, by the way, here's your personality test. Here's the expert to help you dissect these and why you need to do these for your employees. Well, the guy actually took mine and my dad's, and this is scary as shit, guys. Because this was like literally 100 questions. Well, it was like a heart chart. And it got to the very end, and the last like 5 questions, we completely separated. And it was because my first job out of college had been in corporate radio. Mm-hmm. My dad had never had the corporate experience. And so he's like, this is why you're a little more analytical and careful, Matt. This is why your dad has like no filter, and like the Donald Trump-esque generation, like they just say what the hell they want to say. Right. But it was kind of wild because the story, which was kind of funny, was him and I are in his office one day, and when we opened the boat dealership, I was like 24, 25, and we were at our peak. We were doing 15 million a year in sales. We went from 0 to huge. And we were having a meeting, and we're arguing over something, just, I'm sure, like, whose shirt's really orange? I don't know, something stupid as can be. And he wouldn't shut up. And I literally took a chair. He had these wood chairs in his desk. I shattered it over his desk. And he shut up. And we had the conversation, like within a minute, we leave and we're like, hey, want to go lunch? Yeah, let's go lunch. And so we have like literally neither one of us have a memory. It's like, move on. And so we walk down the hallway and Michelle, my secretary, is crying. And I'm like, what's the matter? She's like, what is wrong with you guys? Like, what do you mean? You just, I'm not sure what the hell you did before. I can tell you shattered something on your dad's desk. There's wood flying everywhere in the hallway. And now you're going to lunch? I'm like, well, yeah, we're fine. We got over it. And so we learned a lot about each other. It was tough because we were so much alike. We were never wrong. Well, then we came to respect each other and understand that my dad was the master of sales. I was the master of marketing. And we went our ways, but we still worked together for 10 years. But it was kind of comical because he left it for the next, that happened early on in our relationship in the business. Until we closed in 2008, that his office had the exact matching furniture and then one chair didn't match. And people would walk in and be like,
what happened?
What is this random chair? Why is there not two of these? And it was like, let me tell you what Matt shattered out on my desk. But we would have
he turned that into a great sales story and he would close deals.
And the reason I bring it up was just because we're so close. People have a hard time with, like, they hear me and my dad talk, and like most people, the way me and my dad talk, it would be disrespectful, I guess, to some extent. But we're like brothers. It's like we grew up camping. Like I was telling you before we got on here, when I was in 8th grade, he took us out of school for 3 weeks because he wanted a trip to California, and he didn't want to fly because he hated flying, and he'd rather tent camp. So we tent camped 7 days there, stayed at Palm Springs at the Bob Hope Resort for 7 days, and then tent camp back. And so the relationship we have is much different than most people's father, son. Me and my mom, our relationship is normal, but me and my dad were like brothers. And we would walk into meetings. We had the boat dealership, and I'd be gone for 2 weeks at meetings, traveling for dealer meetings we had, and we'd say, okay, let's have a team meeting. What's our top 10? And my dad and I would have 9 of the 10 exactly the same. And they'd be like, oh, you guys talked before the meeting. I'm like, no, I haven't talked to Dad in 2 weeks. Literally have not talked to it. And we always been on the same page. And so that's one of the reasons, like when I found and what I respect more now than I ever did was how good my dad is at selling, at create relationships, at everything he preaches in his books and his training, because he's a coach, teaches people how to close deals, how to get referrals. And so I love having him on. We didn't do it yesterday because I was coming back from vacation. Typically every Thursday at 4 o'clock, we go live Eastern time. And it's just usually 1 or 2 questions. And we usually get off on a tangent, make fun of each other a few times, and go from there.
That's awesome, man. So let's jump into your story, man. So you kind of touched upon working in advertising and having the RV dealership, but your agency roots go back really far as well, because you started your agency back in 2008, which, this business, it's like dog years. 1 year here is like 7 years in the real world.
Yeah.
So talk us through, man. How did you get started?
So like I said, in 99, I got out of college and went into radio advertising and did real well, made good money, loved it, really enjoyed radio, the relationships I created. At that exact time when we started the boat and RV dealership, this is kind of ironic, kind of funny. I look back how I didn't know where it was going. We started our RV dealership online. We bought a website, outdoorconsignments.com, which back then I didn't know how to do this stuff. And I bought a book called Adobe PageMill, and I built an Adobe PageMill website. And I'm not a tech person. Like, and it's funny because now I kind of have morphed into one. But back then, like, I had a hard time sending an email. But we had an idea. I said, okay, well, I know this guy that owns a computer store. He sells this kind of crap. I'll go buy. I'm sure there's got to be a book I could read and do it. Well, there was. And so I built the website. And from that point on, it was just tinkering. Well, then it got to like 03, 04, 05, and I accidentally discovered SEO. We won't go into that story. It's a long story. When I discovered SEO, we became one of the top dealers in the country. We were one of the top Yamaha dealers, like number 3 in the country. And I would actually train Yamaha dealers on how to use the internet. Well, that led to me getting a lot of publicity. I was on the front page of a lot of business magazines, which trickled back home. And my radio clients from when I was in radio for 4 years would call me every week, different one. Matt, I heard, man, you know this website stuff. Can you teach me about it? What the hell is it? Because back then, like, businesses now, if you're a digital marketer now, you realize that businesses have no clue about the internet still. Well, imagine back in 04, 05, 06, they were clueless. Like, they didn't even know how to turn a computer on. And so they would call me up and say, hey, can you tell us about this? I said, yeah, landscape my house for free and I'll come do it for you. And so I used all sorts of free crap. Well, then it got to a point where 07, I realized I hated the boat business. I didn't hate the boat business. I hated having 40 employees. I was a terrible boss. I was a terrible hirer. Everybody I ever hired got fired. I was probably honestly too successful too early in life, and I had such a damn ego that it just wasn't a good place for me. So I had all these clients that were wanting me. You're all right, Lindsay. There's Lindsay, by the way.
Hey, Lindsay.
I'm at the gym. That's Jim. Dude, this is company, dude. Also at a gym with Lindsay and Casey, so we're here at the gym.
Awesome.
And at that point, I realized I was looking at all these people I knew from the radio world that had like these companies that were spending $10, $20, $30,000 a month and had no clue how to spend it. Their commercial had been the same for 2 years. They had no clue how to do Facebook, no clue how to do emails, no clue how to use LinkedIn, Twitter. And so that's what I started my agency with, was I called the mobile marketing department. And I said, you know what, we're getting out of the boat business in 08. 07, I started putting the plan together. 08, I started it. And I literally went around, and within probably the first, month of having the business, I had 6 to 7 clients. And we were started off as my starting package, my first ever package was $250 a month. We'd make a Facebook post 3 days a week for you. We'd respond to any Facebook interaction, which back then nobody had that much interaction because it was so new and it grew. And we would do 2 emails a month for you. And then I realized real quick, like, oh shit, if I keep going at 250, I'm gonna have to have 1 million clients to make money. Then it went to 400, then it went to 650, then to 750. And I was like, every month I built my agency, I would just randomly ask for more to see if they were like, the guy today, I actually met one of my clients today who I've had for let's see, what is it? I guess it'd be almost 9 years right now. And he's $1,000 a month client, should probably be $3,000 a month at this point. But he was my first client I ever asked for $1,000 from. And he actually,
Were you nervous?
It's kind of, yeah. And it's kind of crazy. He's the only client that pays me in person every month. You know, I'll show you that. Make sure the account number's not visible. but
I was expecting you to pull out $1,000 bill.
No, there's the $1,000 check. He's my only client that pays me in person. He's been around forever. He's got three medical practices. Should probably charge a lot more for what we do, but we've streamlined it. He's a long time client. I told somebody, I'm like, I could charge somebody I guys got done losing. I lost the contract with $8,000 a month. I had the client for 6 months, and we did great stuff, but they didn't comprehend what we were doing. So that's what, 6 months, $8,000, $2,000. I've had this client for 10 years at $1,000 a month. I mean, what is that? $120,000.
$120, yeah.
So, and we've got it systematized. We meet once a month. I met with him. I got 3 points. I emailed it to my assistant. She puts it in Asana. The team who on our team works on his account. I never touch it again. I don't touch it till next month when I go pick up the check, meet, have conversation, go my way. But that was my first client I asked for $1,000 for. And I remember going, oh my God, he said yes. Like, and at that point, I started really understanding how to value my time. And then now, for example, you know, I get on a phone call for $1,000 an hour when I deal with people in that manner. Like, I got a guy that called me the other day who wants me to help him in his company. I said, what's $1,000 to get on a phone call for an hour, and we'll go through. We'll figure out what you need, and if you have something that if I can do something you need, then I'll suggest it. Odds are I can't do what you need, but I can give you a blueprint, and I can recommend 3 or 4 people that'll help you. And if you want to hire me afterwards to coach you through their process, I do that as well. So yeah, it's been 2008 when I started the agency, and about, I guess, 3 years into it, we picked up a handful of restaurants. In 2015, I created a restaurant program on accident. The client told me, Matt, I can't deposit likes in the bank. I went to see, you got 39,000 fans for my restaurant and brewery now. How do I equate that to money? And I set out to prove him wrong, that we could equate it to money in the bank. And so I created a program that helped take the ads, get a database, drive sales, and never thought it was going to be creating a product. And then sure enough, by 2017, I was focused completely on that. Now here we're at 2019, and my agency, which at one point had almost 35, 40 clients, is down to about 8. And my restaurants are, lots of them, and then agencies that we train on restaurants.
So you still have the agency, which is important to note. So you still got boots on the ground, and you're what's relevant and what's working, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had, up until a year ago, I had 25 clients as the agency. And then I had a hard pill to swallow. My coach, Billy Jean, told me this. Another guy that I hired to do a consulting with me on a one-time project told me, you're going to have to suck it up and get rid of that business at some point, or at least get it small enough to where it doesn't require, because I had, one point we had 34 clients from 31 industries, and having those conversations with 34 clients, every one of them was different. and I couldn't quit. I couldn't go from weight loss center to car dealer to nutrition store to gym. You know, I never had a gym. We own a gym. We've never had one as a client, but I own one. But I couldn't, nothing transferred. None of the data transferred. I know. Everybody says that. Like, why don't you market for gyms? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really want to. We own one. So where I'm at right now, and they're out there, people with their shirts off working out, making me feel fat. But that's a different story. But I realized a couple years ago that was a hard pill to swallow. Now I'm to a point now where we've got, let's see, I guess probably 8 to 10. I have 8 to 10 clients, but they're all very specific. We do ABC, and every month it repeats. Whereas in the past, I had at one point, there's 34 clients. The negative with all of those, I'd say of those 34, probably 25 to 30 of them had no system. It was, we bought Matt. Whatever Matt comes up with every month, we do. And that was dangerous because I come up with some pretty crazy ass ideas. And I'm like, dude, we ought to do this, and this. And they're like, great, do it. And I'm like, oh. And I realized, man, I'm losing a lot of money because it requires me involved in everything. Whereas now my restaurant program, for example, we're going to the restaurant show in Chicago in about 5 weeks. And there'll be 70,000 restaurants there. We'll probably get 500 leads and close 20 to 30 deals pretty quickly. Well, I just literally go in our system. We already have the program built. There is no Matt involved. It's the program.
That's awesome. So let's go back to the branding conversation that we kind of started at the beginning of the show, because like I said, like you've done such an amazing job with every aspect of your branding. Like orange shirt, obviously you're the orange guy, but more so than that, you're the Facebook bot guy for restaurants. That's the place that you always have in my mind. How did you come up with that? Like, how did you either stumble upon it or strategically decide that this is my thing, and how you're going to try to do that to other people? Because that's the big, that's the new big thing that you're doing.
Well, it happened. It found me because of content. I was creating a lot of content. As you know, there's some weeks I'll create 100 plus videos. I mean, I go live sometimes 10 to 20 times a day. And I have a system for those and how we do them. And I have, some there's a thought process behind it. Others, it's just, here's the story. Like the other day, I did 7 minutes of bacon. Literally, my bacon was frying for 7 minutes while I was camping. And it was just to have fun with it. But when I was creating content, this goes back to January of 2017. Is that right? Yeah. Because 2017, I had this goal that I was going to market for a couple of different verticals. I was going to go boat dealer, RV dealer, restaurant, and then I was going to keep my traditional agency. I was convinced I could do this. Well, as I started creating content, I started to look at it from a prospect. That if I was an RV dealer that came across Matt Plapp, or a restaurant owner that came across Matt Plapp's YouTube channel, Facebook page, blog, what the hell is he talking about? One day it's this conversation, one day it's this, one day it's this, one day it's this, one day it's this. It wouldn't be cohesive. It almost would feel like I was a flea market. And I realized that exact thing. That's why you look at doctors. You don't go to your doctor and go, hey, I'll do your foot surgery tomorrow. No, he puts you to a foot surgeon. You go to a dentist, and the dentist says, oh, you need braces. You're going to an orthodontist. The dentist doesn't do braces. And so I realized that in order for me to be able to create the content I wanted to create, I had to get really focused. And then to a point now where I'm contemplating in the next 3 to 4 months, getting even more focused on a very specific type of restaurant in the industry, to where we only talk about this type of restaurant.
Like pizza or hamburgers, or a different direction?
Yeah. Fast casual pizza.
Nice.
And that's what I'm because we've got so many of them. And it's just, we have turned one on this past Monday, 4 days ago, 600 and something opt-ins, $800 in sales already. The guy's already talking about upgrading to our next package. I mean, it's a weekend, 4 days in. But it's because I've got so much proof. I know what works if you got 50 pizza restaurants and one steakhouse, I can figure out from those 50 pizza restaurants what works when I add 51. I already know.
Yeah.
The steakhouse, I'm like, I got one. Maybe this will work. This should work. This might work. There's a learning process. When you get to a point where you have so many, but it also helps your content, because then that prospect comes to your Facebook page. I have this literally every day. I get a call from somebody in the business, and I'll say, why Matt Plapp? Why'd you reach out to me? Well, dude, I went to your Facebook page. You've got 75 videos in the past 2 weeks on Facebook that tie in with Messenger, or restaurants that tie in with Messenger, Facebook, advertise. I mean, it's focused. And they see that and they trust, okay, well, if you're making this much content there and you got this many testimonials, this many case studies, and obviously you have a clue what they're doing. That's what got me there, was realizing that if I didn't get that granular, I couldn't have conversations that resonated.
That's awesome, man. I absolutely love that approach. And I don't know if you created that, but I don't think I've ever really heard anybody going that deep and trying to overcome trust barriers through content and volume of quality content.
Yeah, well, the volume came on accident. The volume came because honestly, I think sometimes I probably do too much, and I think I've had people tell me like, dude, I can't keep up. Like I'm in your free group, and I'm 20 videos behind, and when I tell them like where the content aspect came from was literally, this is no lie, I've told this story before. I had a video I had to do for an ad, like a 2-minute video that I was doing that was going to go from my Facebook and Instagram ad and drive to a landing page and sell this, and this. It took me from like 8 p.m. to like 2 a.m. to do this 2-minute video. I'm in the green room at my house. I'm taking forever. I'm like, oh, I touched my face. Oh, I did this. Oh, I sniffed. Edit. I got done. I was so stressed out. And I'm laying in bed, no lie, thinking, how is it I'll go live somewhere and it goes flawless? I'll do a 10-minute video live, flawless, no issues, go on my way. I sit down in here and I'm a hot mess. And that's what I said, you know what? Screw it. Like I have not used, I've got 2 nice green screens. I've not used them once in 2 years now.
Awesome.
For the simple fact that I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going live. And so I have a process where I go live. Once I do the live video, I download it to my camera roll. I add it to my one of three YouTube channels I have. I guess 2, technically, the one's private, but one of 2 YouTube channels. That disperses it via Zapier to 4 places. It adds it to a Google Sheet. It emails my assistant. She has a process of where she puts that video over the next 3 months. We then send it to a company called Repurpose. Repurpose helped us create 1 and 2 minute clicks of it. We started using that a couple weeks ago. And so that's how I became good at creating content, was now I had no barriers. I can go live whenever the hell I want to go. Like I'll go live after here and talk about this interview, and I'll pop it somewhere.
Did you ever used to watch Friends?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the episode where I don't think it was one episode, but Chandler, they tried to get him to take a picture and then he'd smile and his smile would be like, but like when it was just a natural thing and he wasn't like put on the spot, everything was cool. That was you.
You're exactly right. That was me. Me.
Awesome, man. So, your ROI Experts program, you told me before in private, just the massive growth that you've experienced with that. I mean, what is some great advice that you could pass on to agency owners so that they could experience that type of, that quick, well, it's not really quick. It always ends up being like hockey stick type growth. It's like, and then boom. What's some big advice that you could pass on to our agency owners? Some things that you've learned over the way that have helped you get to where you're at today. Give me one big thing. This is the Matt Plapp legacy. This is the thing that you're going to leave behind to the world.
Nothing worth doing comes fast. And my dad used an analogy that you can't build a house on sand. Yes, could you possibly build a house on sand and it would be there for a month or 2? Yes. Every month it's going to slide, sink, and your house is going to crumble.
Yep.
A lot of agencies are built off of make money now quick. And I'm completely against that. I'm all about, I don't sell. Like I had a guy the other day that told me who joined my agency program. And I said, why'd you join? He's like, honestly, one of the biggest reasons I joined, I could not find a link for your program anywhere in your groups. And I'm like, well, why is that? And he's like, well, if you're not in there selling that, then you're dropping a lot of content. That tells me where your focus is at. And I literally probably sell the least amount I've ever sold in my life. And I realize I'm leaving deals on the table every day, but I'm planting better seeds. And I think that there's too many experts out there teaching the next cold email tactic, the next cold call tactic, the next this tactic. Yeah, you need to do some of that because you got to pay the damn bills. But if you really want to have a long-term strategy, figure out a path to take and take it slow. It's like I tell friends, like I mentioned at the gym, I need to lose about 15 pounds. It's not going to happen in 4 weeks. It's also not going to happen if I don't eat right, work out consistently, and take care of my mental health. So part of my game plan, I've just wrote in my planner by August 1st, is I'm going to drop this 15 pounds by August 1st. Got May, June, July. And I've got plenty of time then to create sustainable eating habits because I suck at that. And that's like what I tell them. So nothing that happens quickly, and get that out of your mind. There is no success tomorrow. There is no path to a 7-figure agency tomorrow. It's like, you know what, maybe in 10 years, focus on down the road.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, hey, man, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you so very much for jumping on the show with us. What is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Anywhere, really. I mean, Facebook, my
That's the
Facebook
thing,
page
you're
is
literally everywhere. So just open your door and Matt Plapp's there.
Yeah, I mean, I respond it's kind of comical. I get messages all the time. I've got my Matt Plapp, my personal page, my friend page, and I've got facebook.com/ the real Matt Plapp, which I jokingly dig 80, but Facebook Plapp is my personal profile. The real Matt Plapp is my business profile. It's got the big orange MP, which looks like a fist. And I respond to messages all the time. I get people that randomly message like today I had a bot that went out to about 2,000 agencies. And when I got or even restaurants too, people respond back expecting nobody's going to respond. I personally, I handle my own bot, handle my own account. So they can message me there. They can email me, matt@mattplapp.com. They can LinkedIn. They can, I guess Twitter probably. I don't know. I don't go on there much. They probably tweet me. I get notified, I guess. But I'm easy to reach. I'm pretty open about it. I've been told by my coach and a couple other people that I'm probably too accessible. And it's tough because I had a guy just now message me 10 minutes ago before this call, 5 questions about how to do something in ManyChat. And I'm like, dude, I want to help you, but imagine if the other 250 people who are paying me all did this. I would never get to run my agency. Please post this in the group, and then myself or my team will hop in there. And I'll hop in there. I'll answer it as best I can, or my team will. So the only thing I don't like is probably random text because, that bogs down there and especially specific stuff. But I'm pretty open. You can call me, email me, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, I got that as well.
The gram. There you go.
The gram. Only thing I'm not on is Snapchat frequently. My kids are on it. I have an account, but I don't play with it much.
Yeah, I don't really use Snapchat either. Okay, so next question then, this is going to be like our final question. Who is the perfect person to reach out to you?
Perfect person to reach out to me? Mm-hmm. The person I love talking to the most would be an agency owner that is 18 months to 3 years into the process. Mm-hmm. They know how to sell. They're not scared to work their ass off. They're not scared to go knock on doors and talk to people and shake hands. But they don't have a product yet. That they're doing what Matt Plapp did. For 8 years, I sold Matt Plapp. There's only so much Matt Plapp to go around. There's only so much Chris Martinez to go around. Mm-hmm. So it's that agency that says, hey, I'm at a point now. I understand social media. I understand how to sell. I understand how to close deals. I just need something systematized. And so that I can teach them, because that was my biggest flaw. For 8 years, I sold whatever to whoever, and we were good at it. And I could sell my way out of anything, but I didn't do myself any justice because I wasn't able to scale. And so that's what I'm adamant on. Like you help agencies outsource, and they can't outsource you if they're selling everything. But if they're selling specifically this web, this graphic design, this bot, this email sequence, whatever, that's where you need to go. So an agency that's like, a year and a half to 3 years in, that's like, hey, I'm making $3,000 to $5,000 a month. I'm making $5,000 to $10,000 a month, but I realize I could be double or triple in this if I had a system. And that's kind of what I've on accident become, is a system to some extent.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you again for being on the show. And to all of our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in today, and make sure you return next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency Freedom. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.